There we go.
Cool, we're live. So we're having a tea time chat. I have my cup of tea, and this time we're talking about social media. So we have Vicky Hemmings with us. We're talking in this video about which social media platforms you should use for your business, what you should post and when, all those funky things like how you should grow your audience, and the hot potato question: should I buy fans and followers? So Vicky, just say hi. Tell us who you are, what you do on a daily basis. What does your day look like?
My name is Vicky Hemmings, and I am the content and social media specialist here at Tillison Consulting. Um, a conventional day is a combination of managing social media platforms for clients, coming up with strategy for clients. It can also be a lot of internal strategy, social strategy, and website development, as well as writing content for a number of clients, editing, uploading. Busy, hectic,
pretty
different.
pretty busy day. Okay. Before we should continue, I should say we do these every other week. So if you want to catch the next episode, then do hit the subscribe button. If you've got questions during this and you're watching live, or are you watching this afterwards on YouTube, then do ask questions in the comments, and we'll do our best to answer those for you. And if you do enjoy it, of course, give us a thumbs up. So let's just cover that first question then. Vicky, what we get asked this an awful lot. Which platforms are best for social media for my business?
Okay, if your company works B2C, so business to consumer, then you work pretty well across all platforms. So Facebook, Twitter, uh, Facebook, Twitter, uh, all businesses should have a LinkedIn profile, Pinterest, Instagram. Um, for B2B companies, so business to business companies, then you really should stay well clear of Facebook, so stick to Twitter, um, Google Plus, and LinkedIn. Instagram and Pinterest are great if you're a visual business. So if you redesigned office spaces, for example, then Pinterest would work quite well. But otherwise, if you're not a particularly visual business, then stay well clear.
Okay, excellent. What else is Pinterest and Instagram? What else is good for that?
Anything that's a visual business, so hairdressers, restaurants, hotels, things that are consumables, things that you can take pictures of. Fashion works really well. Yeah, anything that's got a good visual element to it. So it's no good for things like finance or written stuff or trying to think of some examples. But anything that doesn't have a good visual element to it doesn't really work on Pinterest or Instagram.
Okay, so cake is good. Accountants
Yes.
probably not so much.
Not unless you make pretty pictures with your numbers. No.
Excellent. Okay, and what should we post? When should we post? I mean, that's a question again we get asked a huge amount, and I have people saying, well, I tweet once or twice a week, or I post to LinkedIn once a month, so I'm doing social media. Are they doing social media? How
Yeah.
often should we be posting, and what?
It depends. It varies dependent upon the platform, and it varies dependent upon the business. Um, what you should post works on the 20-30-50 split. So 20% of what you put out in any given period of time, whether that's a week, a month, or a year, is promotional. That's we're the best, buy from us. 30% of what you put out in any given period of time should be information. So that's posts that are useful to your audience, but they don't necessarily feel the need to engage with. So that can be anything from, if you made cakes, for example, it could be the fact that you make gluten-free cakes, or that you can make cakes with or without certain ingredients. But it can also be things like contact details, opening times for Christmas delivery, that kind of stuff that's useful to your audience, but they don't necessarily have to engage with there and then. And then 50% of what you should put out in any given period of time is engagement. That's asking questions, holding polls, getting people to vote, having fun. So putting up pictures, caption competitions, hashtag competitions, things like that. Things that make your audience feel like they're a valued part of your brand. In terms of how often you should post, when it comes to Facebook, you want to be maybe 2 to 4 times a day. And the timings are, think about when you use Facebook. So you probably check it on the way into work in the morning, or first thing when you get to work. Check it on the bus on the way home, or first thing when you get home. You might check it on your lunch if you're lucky. So those are the sort of periods of time where you should be posting. So somewhere between maybe 8 and 10 in the morning, 5 and 7 in the evening, and then sporadically in the day if you think that that would apply to your audience. For example, if you were an Indian restaurant or a Chinese restaurant or something like that, people don't really want to be talking about or would be thinking about curry at 9 a.m., but they will be thinking about it around lunchtime, and starting to tease them with it around 4 o'clock usually works. It implants that idea that actually a curry for dinner would be a really good idea. Um, for Twitter, you want to tweet more often. You're probably talking somewhere between 4 and 6 times a day minimum. Google Plus, bit like Facebook, 2 to 4 times a day would be okay. LinkedIn, I always think of more as a maintenance account. So if there is newsworthy content to push out, then push it out. If there's not, then don't worry. Your frame of things you can talk about is much smaller, so you don't want to just be pushing stuff out for the sake of it. And then Pinterest is kind of indulgent. You do maybe an hour here or an hour there, but sort of sporadically when you feel, when the mood takes you. But then an Instagram can depend. It depends how visual your business is, but a few times a day, a couple of times a day maybe. But that doesn't include chatting to people. That's the minimum of output you give. But any actual engagement and chatting to people, having conversations with people, is all additional posting and tweeting and engagement. So that's all in addition to those 2 to 4, 4 to 6 boundaries.
Okay, so there's no kind of single answer to that when should I post question. It really does depend on your audience. I mean, when are they going to be using whatever the platform is that you're posting to? And if you're B2B, then I guess there's a higher likelihood, depending on what it is, that people might see those posts during the day. And if it's B2C, I guess, you mentioned sort of early morning or lunchtime or evening. I guess really, there are some kind of practical guidelines, and you might think about that and come up with a theory about when people are using social media. But the best thing really to do, I guess, is test and see what response you get at different times for your own business and your own audience, because they're all different. So there is no kind of hard and fast rule of that's the best time to post. The other thing that historically, I mean, this happened as well, is with email marketing, we used to have the same question. So when is the best time to send your email campaign? I don't know, it's between 10 and 11 a.m. on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. And then everybody does it, so 10 and 11 a.m. on Tuesdays and Wednesdays actually isn't the best time because everybody does it and it's too noisy at that time. So yeah, you got to test and measure and
just keep an eye on it
and find your own way. So I guess we covered a little bit there about how do you grow your audience and your influence. And one thing to say on that is that audience size isn't necessarily your end goal. The number of Twitter followers you have is not your mission, and that's something I frequently get frustrated with people on Twitter and other social platforms at all.
Yeah, you're looking for quality over quantity, so it's better to have 100 people who talk to you regularly, buy from you, or engage with you in a business capacity, recommend you to other people, than it is to have 1,000 people who don't bother talking to you, retweeting your content, favoriting, plus oneing, whatever it might be. Those people are of no value to you, really. It's better to have quality over quantity, and the way to do that is to give more than that you take. Offer information and advice. If you can help. If you can't, then maybe you can recommend someone who can. Also seek out influencers, so people who have strong followings, engage with them. If they're pushing out good content, engage with that content, chat to them, get involved. And also there are now Twitter chat hours, of which there is a blog post on our website that you can learn more about. Alternatively, there'll probably be another one of these hangouts just on chat hours, because you could literally chat about it for hours, where you can target your efforts on social media much more succinctly.
Yeah, absolutely. We should say, by the way, that there is a full business guide to Twitter and a separate one for Google Plus, and the blog post you just mentioned. So we'll put those in annotations on the video later, but we'll also put them in the comment thread as well, so you can navigate to those and download, register, and get some good advice and tips there. A whole heap of video and all sorts of stuff to help you do better and be more effective on social media. So the last hot potato, and this is something that kind of regularly causes arguments. Should I buy fans, followers, likes? Is there any value? It's really cheap. Should I go and get 1,000 Facebook fans?
No. One word answer. Don't do it. there is no value in buying likes, followers, fans, whatever, because when it comes down to it, those are the equivalent of having 1,000 people who don't talk to you. They have no value. They're not going to be people who buy from you. They're not going to be people who engage with you. The More often than not, the majority of those 1,000 people will be somewhere like the Dominican Republic or Mexico or the Philippines or something like that. They're not genuine people. They're never going to buy from you. And there really is, when it comes down to it, no point in having an audience of 1,000 people and no shoppers when you could have an audience of 10 people who buy from you every month. That's what it comes down to. It's a quality over quantity thing. And whilst big numbers sound good, if they don't equate into big business, then it doesn't make any difference.
No, absolutely, and the other thing to bear in mind with buying fans, followers, watches of your YouTube videos or anything like that is you're actually breaking the terms and conditions of those platforms. Yeah. So, worst case, you kind of buy 1,000 fans for your Facebook page, and then you actually build some legitimate fans, and now you've got 5,000 fans, 4,000 legitimate ones that you've worked really hard to build and engage with, and then Facebook bans your page and you get dumped off of Facebook, or the same with Twitter or Google Plus or YouTube, I guess, as well. So it's just not worth it. And the other thing that does come up in conversation, we get asked questions about is a tweet valuable for SEO? Does it have some value? Yes, it has a little bit of value, but it doesn't have any more value if it's tweeted for an account with 1 million followers than it does from an account with 1 follower. So yeah, so there's no additional SEO value. You could easily get your account banned, and they're never going to engage with you. So I guess we're all in agreement. Just don't bother. It's not worth it.
Just say no, kids.
Absolutely. Okay, brilliant. So just to summarise then, which platforms?
Excuse me.
No problem. Which platforms should we be using for which types of businesses? If you just summarise that quickly.
If you're a B2C business, so business to consumer, then you want to be on Facebook, Twitter, Google+. You want a LinkedIn profile, and if you are a visual-based business, so if you're a restaurant or a salon or something like that, then Pinterest and Instagram could work really well for you as well. If you are a B2B business, you work business to business, then you want to be on Twitter, Google+, and LinkedIn. Again, there is some value in being on Pinterest if you have a visual. If it's a visual thing that you do. So if you did, for example, interior design of office spaces or, landscape gardening of office complexes, things like that, then there's some value in it that way. But otherwise, just stick to the main 3.
Okay, and then posting, we talked about quite often during each day, but think about when your audience is typically using those platforms, but test and measure, really, and find your own way and what works for you. It's not always consistent. I think we've found with that you might find that a morning post works really well, and you go, great, I'll do mornings, and then they don't perform so well in future. So just keep testing and measuring. And then the last part was just don't buy followers. Don't buy followers and fans. Don't buy fake stuff. Be real on social media, or you get found out or banned. So yeah, don't do that at all. Brilliant, Vicky. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to enjoy my cup of tea. I've got my best dad in the world mug today. It's brilliant. So
what did they want?
What did they want? What don't they want? What don't they want? So yeah, guys, as usual, make sure you subscribe for future videos. Next time out, we're talking to senior strategist Anthony Potts about some really powerful Google AdWords remarketing tips. So that's going to be really good. I'm looking forward to that. If you do have questions, do ask in the comments. If you've enjoyed this, do give us a thumbs up. We'll see you next time.